Hey there everybody, it's Mark Crowley. I'm back with another video. Today we're going to be talking about storytelling cliches, and I am gathering together hopefully an ongoing list of these cliches that we see in movies, books, comics, what have you. As I talk about the 8 different storytelling cliches that I've chosen for today, I'm going to be working on a sort of color test for this graphic novel that I'm working on. Trying to figure out how am I going to color this thing, and who knows, maybe you're seeing the first steps towards me figuring that out. But let's go ahead and get on to the first of my storytelling cliches. And this is not meant to be a list of like top 8 or whatever. This is just the first 8 that kind of popped into my brain. So here we go. Number 1, 2 people who are going to eventually fall in love appear to hate each other when they first meet. We've all seen this a bunch of times in love stories and any kind of story like that involves 2 characters. They never seem to like each other all that much at the beginning. In fact, they seem to be fighting and irritating to one another. And I think, in a way, it's understandable why we almost need to have that type of a cliche, because people want to see characters go on a journey. If they love each other right from the beginning and everything's hunky-dory, there's no conflict, there's no change, really. And so if you know that your final destination is love and being well-suited for each other, you need them to start somewhere else where they don't seem to be well-suited for each other. And in a way, I don't mean for this to be a list of things you must avoid. I know a lot of people say, these cliches must die. And I'm not here to actually present a list like that. I'm more interested in sort of just being aware of them. And especially younger people just starting out, they might not recognize some of these things as story cliches. And if you know that it already is a cliche, then you won't be under any illusions that what you're doing is super fresh. Anyway, let's move on to the second one that I've come up with. If one of the characters has a phobia, they will be forced to confront and overcome that phobia during the story's final climactic scene. So yeah, you got the character who has a fear of heights or whatever. Definitely we've seen this done before, where and at the pivotal moments, when it matters the most, they are able to overcome that fear and save the day. And, you know, again, understandably, people love the drama of seeing someone conquer of fear, although it does seem awfully convenient, doesn't it, that it seems to happen just when it is most needed. Let's keep this moving. I'm going to go on to number 3 here. In a fight between the protagonist and a bad guy, the bad guy will seem to have gained the upper hand, only to suddenly die, having been killed by a third character who has come to the rescue just in the nick of time. We've seen this in seemingly every story ever done. It is so common, and I think probably at the point where it's not a surprise anymore. When the person gets saved, it's only a matter of who is it who has come at the last possible moment to save our hero. But isn't it funny how it always seems to, they get you worried because it's always at the moment when the bad guy seems to have gained the upper hand, and it's all over for our hero when a gunshot or an arrow or some sort of thing from off screen, usually from behind them, and you see their eyes glaze over and they drop dead, and you're like, it's a miracle. What, did they just have a heart attack? No, they were shot from off screen. So again, not saying that it should be avoided at all costs, but be aware of the fact that it is a cliche, and maybe you need to do something to freshen it up in your version. Number 4, in a story that involves kids having an adventure, the parents are conveniently absent for most of the tale. Now, this is one where I feel like the cliche is very nearly unavoidable, because we don't really want the parents around a lot of the time. Having the parents around for a children's adventure story would probably be a drag. frankly, because they would be saying, don't do that, that's dangerous. You know, they would be stepping in and being all parenty, and I think in a way the children's story is a chance to get away from the parents. I mean, kids are dealing with parents all day long. They don't want to keep dealing with them in a story. Now, of course, there are plenty of stories like The Incredibles or whatever, where it's a family story and the parents are integrated into the plot, and that's great. Usually the parents are, I would say, slightly wish fulfillment kind of parents in that circumstance. Amazing parents, parents who are doing something interesting or whatever. But, you know, from The Wizard of Oz on down, we see the parental figures sort of eliminated from the story so that the kids can have fun. And I would say there's nothing wrong with that. I've certainly done that in my stories plenty of times. The weird thing is how often, and some people mentioned this when I asked on Facebook and Twitter the other day, is how often the parents are already dead or something at the outset of the tale. There's only one parent, or maybe no parent, the orphaned child being raised by a step-parent or whatever. For some reason, that also has become a cliche. And I didn't make that one of the official ones for this version of my list, but I probably will in a future video, and we'll dig into that one a little deeper. But let's keep moving here with number 5. The big misunderstanding that divides the main characters or sets the story back, all because people didn't communicate. And I just wanted to say thanks to Brianna Nicole B-Row, I'm not sure, on Facebook, and a number of other people mentioned this. This one can be particularly frustrating, I think, for the viewer, especially when there's no good reason for the person to have stayed silent, and it really does, I think, drive people crazy. It's like, but this is all based on a stupid misunderstanding. If they would just talk to each other, all of this hassle would be eliminated. So I think this is one where you want to be a little cautious about, either come up with a very genuine reason why this lack of communication has come to be, or else come up with some other way of just doing it, because I do think people get annoyed. I know I've had that experience of sort of like, why don't you just tell her? Then all these problems would vanish instantly. So that's a good one to be aware of. Give me just a moment now, because I'm going to switch to adding white gouache as we move on to the final 3. Alright, so I think I've got enough done at this point to move on to the last 3. These ones are going to be highly specific, and they are things that I've noticed as storytelling cliches. I wonder if others have seen them as well. But this is where the topic becomes fun to me, when you get into the specifics of little things that you've just seen done over and over again. And this is one that I've noticed. Number 6. A person leaving at the end of an argument will stop, turn around, and deliver one last killer line that puts the other person in their place. Now, ending an argument with a killer line, I don't think that counts as a cliche. The part of it that is a cliche to me is this pattern of they're leaving, they're at the door, they've just about left, but then they stop, and they always have to turn around and say that one last cool thing. And then they can leave. It seems like a very standard pattern that I've seen again and again. And then either the person who has been on the receiving end of that line has to just stay silent because they've been dumbstruck by the incredibly powerful thing that this person has said, or else they will shout something after them that just only makes that person who's doing the shouting seem more feeble and weak, and it just makes it even clearer that they lost the argument, or they, as I said, have been really put in their place by that other person. Wonder if anyone else has noticed that pattern. I certainly have seen it. I don't mind it but it is sort of funny how often it happens. Number 7. A person will speak English very slowly and simply to a character who appears to be a foreigner, only to find that they speak English quite fluently. This one, I have to say, drives me nuts. It's not funny. You can see it coming a mile away. It's so old. Oh my goodness, it must go back to, the first Hollywood films, if not all the way back to Shakespeare. Who knows? It's such an old idea, and it's just not funny. Don't do it. That's the one where I would say, stop. Don't do that gag. It has been drained of whatever humorous effect it once had. Let's move on to the last one for now, number 8 out of 8. Very specific, this one. An art project or some such creative endeavor has gone completely wrong and seems headed for disaster. But the whole problem is solved when the important boss character comes in and declares, "I love it!" Have you seen this before? I've definitely seen this before. Whether it's, like I said, an art project, or you're supposed to have baked this amazing cake, everything has completely gone wrong, and you're just you're sure that it's going to be a disaster, and then this art critic or whoever person comes in and declares, "It's genius." Again, that one, I don't know. Has the clock run out on that one for it still to be interesting or funny? I'm not sure. I feel like I've seen it one too many times, but I suppose with all of these cliches, it may be possible to breathe new life into them by way of just, putting your own spin on it, giving some kind of twist to this age-old idea. But leave your comments, additional ones that I missed, in the comment section. I'm going to copy them out and save them for a continuation of this series. See how many we can come up with. I bet we could go all the way up to 50 or so, if not more. There's just so many of them once you start thinking of them. But for now, hang on, I'm going to go grab my books so that I can say thank you to anyone who has supported me by getting them, like Mastering Manga. My book on drawing in the manga style contains all kinds of other information, though. The Drawing Lesson, a graphic novel that teaches you how to draw, and my very latest book, The Two-Pencil Method. I really cannot say thank you often enough to those of you who choose to support me by getting any of those books. But let's go ahead and lay down this brush. I want to say thanks to all of you who watched this video. I really hope you enjoyed it. And I'll be back with another one real soon.